Behind me here on the top of Mount Leinster you can see the RTE transmitter, and when it was erected in the early 60s a whole new era of communications dawned for people outside of Dublin. And even today that transmitter on the top of the mountain is still a landmark. Helen McInerney has been looking back to the early days of the mast and has been asking also what job the transmitter does today.
The RTE mast on top of Mount Leinster is a landmark in the area and easily identifies the top peak in the Blackstairs Mountains. The mast transmits national television and radio to the region and was erected in the early 1960s. In this high-tech era, when we think nothing of accessing television channels from all over the world, courtesy of satellite, it's hard to imagine how far we've travelled in just over 40 years.
We had just the one television service, which at that particular time it was unique to have that service, and everybody valued the service, which ran from 5:30 in the evening to about 11:30 at night. So it was about 6 hours of broadcasting at the beginning.
In 1961 it was only Kipure was on the air at the start. So it was only available in part of the Dublin area and outside, close to Dublin. And then over the following couple of years, the other transmitters came on the air, and it was black and white, of course.
And now we travel right across the country to Mount Leinster on the Carlow-Wexford border. Mount Leinster is the highest transmitter of all, being more than 2,600 feet above sea level. The road to it is the highest in Ireland. You can go down only in first gear, and it was built by Paddy Barnard, Carlow's county engineer.
It was just a plain mountain, sheep grazing on it. There was a small goat track at the end, up to some turf banks, and from that it was just a mountain.
Well, the county council actually built the road way back in the early 60s to here. And at that time they didn't have a whole lot, the kind of machinery that's available now, so it was very difficult. They had to blast part of the stone and out of their way to make the road.
The function of the transmitter on Mount Leinster is to take in the signal from Dublin and to send it back out again.
The signal comes from Dublin via link system into here, and it's sent out from the aerials here. Then it goes up into the aerials and it's sent out all around the area, the Leinster area, and down as far as Waterford and all the Wexford, Wicklow, Kildare, all that area is covered from here. And then down along, we'd say, the Tipperary, Waterford, Dungarvan, they have smaller transmitters which pick up the signal from here and re-radiate it again.
Our job essentially was to maintain the service, whether it was radio or television, so that when you switched on either your car radio or indeed your radio at home or your television at home, you would get the results.
Those who worked on the top of Mount Leinster have their own claim to fame.
So we have the top job in the country, so we have, And I believe also that we were one of the highest manned transmitters in Europe.
While it may be the top job in the country, working at such a high altitude in bad weather can have its own problems.
When I came here first, before we got the snow vehicle, you used to have to walk up. And people think it's lovely walking on snow. It's very, very hard walking on soft, new snow that's up to your waist. And you have to lift your knees and your legs and everything else and carry your provisions with you.
And apart from the bad weather, there are other challenges to deal with.
I always remember when we first started, here about 9 years, the older guys were just about to retire and they were here for a year or two, and one of them said to me one evening at the end of the week, a Friday evening, he said, do you feel a bit tired, after your week's work? And I said, God, I do, yes, yeah. And he says, it's probably the altitude, you'll get used to it, but it is actually a factor with working up here,
But times change, and so does the technology.
There's been an increase in the amount of automation, and we now have standby transmitters for all the services. And at the moment we're in the process of rolling out digital terrestrial television to the whole country. We're doing engineering tests at the moment, and that is to be rolled out before the end of the year to about at least 80% of the country.
As we face further developments in technology, what is the future for the RTE mast on the top of Mount Leinster?
The future is digital television, and that's going to continue to use sites like Mount Leinster, and in fact Mount Leinster has one of the largest coverage areas in the country, so definitely the mast is going to be replaced in the next couple of years, so that's a commitment to the future.